What's going on, my babies? Welcome back to another episode of the Spiritual Word. As always, I apologize for any noises in the background in advance and anything of that nature. And before I start these, I like to start these off with a disclaimer by stating that these are for entertainment purposes only, and to always do your own research, to come to your own conclusions, to have your own answers, to make your own decisions. And I believe in your ability to do so and to be your own person. And so, if you're a returning baby, or if you're new, thanks for tuning in and tapping in. This is the Spiritual Word. I am your host, Jackie. I upload Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Mountain Time every single week, except for the last week of every month, which is like my break week. And I have an audio version of the podcast and a video version of the podcast. The audio, you can find it anywhere that you can find podcasts, and the video, you can find that on YouTube. And I'm so sorry, I'm like extremely discombobulated right now. But if you're into spirituality, psychology, self-help, philosophy, I think I already said science, but just in case I didn't say science, I think I repeated one of those things twice. But if those are things you're into, those are the things that I mainly talk about on here. And with that being said, yeah, let's get into it. So I've been reading Start Where You Are by Pema Chodron, but instead of reading for this week, because we're almost done with this book, I figured I'd take a break from this book and talk about some real life stuff that's going on, just because I know that there's a lot of wars going on, and I don't want to just be silent on it, especially on my platforms where I find that I talk about the meaningful stuff. And so for the people of, Palestine and the people of Congo and all these different places that are going through a lot right now, I hope that we can send out our good energy to them through these different, um, like episodes and through our own lives, just because they're going through a lot right now. And even if we're going through a lot, they're going through worse. So I'm going to take up a minute and send out any good merit, or put my intention that any good merit gained through this episode and through us being here together, that it be given to them, directly them, just because I feel like it has no better place to go at the moment. So I'm gonna set the intention, and we're gonna do this together. I used to do this while I was at the Buddhist Retreat Center, but this is the one pointed, I think it's called a mudra. I'm not sure, I don't remember. But basically, you put both your hands together in a prayer way, and put your middle fingers up, but put together. And this is coming from your heart center. So it'd be, not necessarily, it doesn't have to be against your chest, but I put it against my chest where my heart is, so that my heart's sentiments, my heart's intentions go out into the universe. And this is something that a lot of people do in Buddhism, because it's the way that merit can be sent out. So my intention is that any merit gained through today, or gained through today's episode, or gained through today as a whole, be given to the people who are in need of it, and the people who are going through all these wars and all of this suffrage. And that's it. And now I raise it to my forehead to complete it for myself. And I haven't been doing that a lot, so I felt like it was needed, like it was a refreshing moment. But anyways, so just for the sake of kind of relevancy to everyday events, because I know that like all these wars and stuff, it's not an everyday event, just like catastrophes and disasters are not everyday events. So I want to talk about something that's relevant to the people who are around me and the people who are going through things as of in my personal experience. So I want to talk about self-love, just because it's one of the things that I talk about a lot, and it's one of the things that I feel like I can talk about endlessly, because there is always a few people out there who don't truly understand what it means to care about yourself. And Better yet, they don't know how to do it because they don't know the importance of it. And I feel like if you don't know why something is, then you don't really care why that thing is. And I think that it's easier to understand something or to learn something after you understand it. So, this is what I'm gonna talk about in today's episode. So, I think that people have this idea that self love has to be this really cheesy thing where they're like literally in love with themselves and they love every part of themselves and blah 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 and whoop de doo. But as the book Start Where You Are literally states, it's not about running from all of the things and all of the nasty things that exist within you because they're gonna exist. That's the basic, reality check that is all those things you don't like about yourself. I think self love, to best be explained, is involving yourself with the things that you don't like and knowing that it's okay not to like those things, but knowing that those things are also okay as is, even though you don't like them. And not to sit there and lie to yourself, because I think that a lot of people, they don't like themselves for the reason that they think that they're lying to themselves when they're lying to themselves about certain things. Like if I didn't like the way my hands look, then when I look at my hands, my first go-to thought probably isn't, oh, I love my hands. Because if I don't like my hands, my first go-to thought is definitely not going to be that, especially if I know that. And I think what people forget to realize is that you don't have to love your hand. Like if I really didn't like my hand and I look at it all the time and I'm like, ew, why is it so ugly? Or why is it so that? Or why is it so freaking small? Like I have the smallest hand ever. But the point is to get involved with those things that you don't like about that thing. And for example, since we're using my hand as an example, I could sit here and tell you, oh, my hand's so small. Like, why is my hand so small? I hate that my hands are so small. And instead of saying I hate that my hands are so small, I could sit there and be like, my hands are small, but it's okay because they still function. I still have a thumb. You know what I mean? Like I can still grab things. I can still, use my dexterity. I am privileged to be able to hold things because there's people who don't have fucking hands. And it's not that I have to really sit down and be like, I am privileged because I get to have a hand, because it's really, for a lot of people, it's not enough for them to just say, well, I'm privileged. And I think it has to be a little bit deeper, and I think that deepness is what people don't like. The thing that they crave is to change their hand. And in my example, right? In my example, what I would crave in this situation is that my hand would be perfect. The perfect length, the perfect width, the perfect structure, whatever. That my skin be thicker so that you can't see all of my veins and shit. But it isn't. And the reality of it is that it is what it is. And although I don't, quotation marks, although I don't like it, it's my hand. And it's the only one that I get. Now I could, have surgery or do some really, really expensive cosmetic changes. But at the end of the day, it doesn't really get rid of the thing underneath, which is the feeling that you're trying to avoid or evade or run away from. And that feeling is that feeling of, ew, I don't like this. I don't like this. How do I run away from something that I don't like? Especially if it's in my body, especially if it's in my mind, especially if it's in my heart. And I think this is what this book, Start Where You Are, it teaches you. I think it teaches you that you shouldn't run away from the things that you don't like for the simple fact that you don't like them. Because if you're running away from something that you don't like, you're going to be fit as hell, but still miserable. You're going to be so freaking good at running. But at the same time, you're not going to have anything to run towards. So you're just running. And if I learned anything in life, it's that everything is fucking pointless. And it's not pointless to like a hopelessness type of thing, because I know that it can get that to that. But it's hopeless in the sense that it's freeing to not have to worry, to not have to struggle, to not have to suffocate yourself under the things that you don't like. Because nothing is worse than being in a mental prison. And the only prison that you can exist in is being trapped in a body. And that should be enough. You shouldn't have to suffer any more than that. And I don't like to say that things are what they are, because it always gave me a sense of like, okay, but tell me the fucking fix. Tell me the solution. But the reality, as annoying as it is for me to say, it is what it is. And not that things can't be changed, because things are changing. It's that things are being changed, and you are in the physical process of things changing. So until you see that change, shit is gonna be tough. You know what I mean? Like, I can take this into real world context and talk about the Black Lives Matters movement, or, talk about the Asian hate, or talk about the Cesar Chavez stuff, or I can go ahead and talk about the wars that are happening right now with Palestine. And I can talk about, the people who are suffering in Congo, or the people who are having to flee their countries and come to America because shit is not going well. And those things are happening in real time, but they're also change. And you can't run away from the yucky, icky stuff. It's kind of like if I have a cooler that has been put outside and neglected for so long, and I open it and there's a bunch of bugs, there's spider webs, and there's a bunch of dirt, and it's so dirty. I should have expected that to be the outcome. And it's not a bad thing that I've neglected this. And it's not a bad situation that now I have to clean it, because it all is what it is. But I think that there's a lot of power that comes with the fact that things are changing in real time. Like, I don't think that it's good, obviously, to have war and to have suffering, because I don't think that's a good thing. And if we could avoid those, that would be amazing. But the reality is that you can't avoid those things. So when you don't avoid those things, and when war and suffering is the forefront of the news and is the forefront of the things that you see on a daily basis, then it opens you up to the actuality and the realization that shit is hard. People are suffering in real time. And now you can't ignore the reality of the situation. It's kind of like a reality check for everybody. And although in my mind, it's not a good thing, and in my mind, it's not right that I had to get to that point. But although I have a very righteous way of outlook, where looking at things, I don't think that it's helpful in the degrees of like here and now, because things are changing and things are getting better. It's just that I'm in the midst of the events that are occurring that aren't good. And just like that, just like the ignorance that it took to create this war, to create the suffering, it's taking those things that were neglected and that were our ignorance and turning them into wakefulness, because now people are paying attention. Because now people are paying attention to Congo. Because now people are paying attention to Palestine. But it took that to make people aware. And that to me is what's not right. But then again, I have a very righteous way of thinking, and it's not that helpful. So, besides that, let's get back on topic. So, through reading this book up until now, and I haven't read anything past what we've read together, just because, like, I want to read the whole thing with you guys. And, besides that, the thing that I took away from this book the hardest is that most people are trying to run from their problems instead of just being okay with the fact that there is problems and there's going to be problems. And it's not that you should want them to be stagnant, because I think that the reason that you want to run away from your problems is because you don't want the problems, which is a good thing. You don't want them because you shouldn't. But I think what people don't get, or the thing that people miss in their daily lives, is that you can change it. It's a matter of you figuring out your solution to your problem. Just because everybody's problem is going to be different unless it's a collective level thing. Like, we can all collectively agree that these wars are not a good thing. We can all collectively agree that having dictatorship in certain countries, not a good thing. We can all collectively agree that the prices in America are absolutely fucking ridiculous. We can all collectively agree that the payments and the economy in America is absolute dog shit. And because we can all collectively agree on these things, we all have the power to change those things together. Because it can't just be one person, because it's a collective problem. It's a collective problem. So because collective problems require collective, individual problems require individual solutions, which is why I always have a disclaimer that says, I'm not in your life, I'm not in your shoes. Take what I say with a grain of salt. And although it can make it feel hard, like your personal problems could feel a lot harder because nobody can help you, it's actually a good thing because it gives you the strength that you're going to need in order to face this challenge. Although you don't want to face the challenge because it's easier to not, right? It's easier for me to go get cosmetic surgery to change the way that my hand looks, but that surgery isn't going to fix the way that I feel. You know what I mean? Like, I know a lot of people who were, really big as a kid or really obese as a kid, and then they lose all the weight and they still feel like, quotation marks, that fat kid. And that's one of the biggest examples that I can give anybody. Your problems can go away surface level, but it doesn't actually go away until you get rid of the root. And the root of the problems are that you don't want to face them. The root of all problems is that they don't want to be faced, because it's easier to run from something than it is to face something. But facing that gives you a lot of power. And you don't always have to face them. Sometimes some things are not even needing the confrontation of being faced. Like, for example, if you're sitting there and the reason that you don't like yourself is because your voice. You don't like your voice. Like, for a long time, I really didn't like my voice because I'm like, I sound like a guy, and, blah, 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 and this and that. And, after growing and aging for 25 years, which I'm going to be 25 in a couple of days, in 7 days, I realized that it's a good thing because I don't sound like everybody, and because it gives me a little bit of uniqueness, and because I'm gay. So, like, it's helpful. And it puts, like, a different, I don't want to say a different, I, I already said uniqueness, but it gives my range a better range. Like, I have a better range because my voice is deep and because I can go to a higher pitch. And it gives me a better range when I want to sing or when I want to make music, because I do that for fun. So it's a good thing that my voice is this way, especially because if you look at people like, I don't know if you guys listen to Peso Pluma, but his voice is a very rare occurrence. Like, it's a very nasally and high pitched voice for a man. And my voice is very nasally, but I blame that on being Hispanic. But it's what it boils down to. Like, if I were to sit here and, like, tell you how I got over the fact that I don't like my voice, or the fact that I didn't like my voice, I had to clarify, then I would sit here and tell you this was my contemplation, right? We're gonna go step by step through this. So, number one, why don't I like it? I don't like it because it's deep. Because all the girls around me always told me, oh, like, you sound like a dude. And I didn't like that, you know? And when I get on my game, people are like, are you a boy or a girl? And I'm like, what the fuck is it to you? It's none of your damn business. And I'm sorry that, you know, had that language. Try not to cuss. But it annoys me because why are you all up in my business? And it annoys me because it reminds me of different collective problems. It reminds me that in the gay community, a lot of people get pressed on, like, what are you? What are you? Are you a boy or are you a girl? And, you know, it has nothing to do with you. It has absolutely nothing to do with you, especially if you don't identify to be in that community, especially if you're not that person, especially if you're not in that skin. So that's why it bothers me, because people love to project their own insecurities onto me, and it pisses me off because I want to punch them in their face. And so that's why I don't like my voice, because it makes me want to punch people in their face. and, and because I don't like how nasally I sound. Like, I'm not purposefully speaking nasally. It's just my voice. And the ways that I got over those certain things, like the fact that I don't like it because it's deep. The reason I do like it is because it's deep, because I can make myself sound more like masculine or more feminine. And that's like a natural superpower. And two, when people ask me if I'm a boy or a girl, I just say, that's what your mom asked me last night. You know? I think that's funny. And because, like, I'm a little prick-ish, borderline prickish, meh, prick. I'm a prick. And I think it's funny to mess with people, especially when it's none of their business. I think it's so funny to, you know, be like, oh, what's it to you? You know? Like when people ask me my name, and I'm like, what's it to you? Like that guy from SpongeBob who his name was What's It To Ya? What's it to ya? And I think it's funny because, like, what is it to you? Like, you're not gonna die if you don't know who I am. You're not gonna die if you find out whether I'm a boy or a girl. Like, it's not something vital to your life. And so, me holding back puts you in no harm. Puts me in no harm. Because if you really get that upset, or if I'm really in danger because of that, just kill me then. Because I don't want to be here anymore. And, like, I figured that things are not that deep. And then the part of the nasally, I feel like that's just a part of my, like, my heritage and who I am and, like, my roots, because, like, Hispanic people, we're just nasally. Like, that's just it. Like, if you talk to a lot of Hispanic people, especially Mexicans, we're nasally. That's just a part of who we are. That's just how we're built. That's just how we're structured. And I also think it's how you speak. Like, it's just a part of us. Like, it's just a part of, collectively, it's part of me. Collectively, it's part of my heritage. And I think that that's a beautiful insight on my ancestors, because my ancestors will never die as long as I sound like this. And I'm going to sound like this until I die. So, like, you know, there's a beauty to that. And through those negative things, I found things to be grateful for. And there's nothing better than escaping a mind prison that you've put for yourself, around yourself, for the thinking, for the comfort that it puts. But it really doesn't put any comfort on you. Like, most people who trap themselves in their own mental prisons of, like, I don't love myself because of this. You trap yourself because you think that you're going to be safe, but the only reason that you feel that way is because you're already getting criticized. Like, most people think, well, if I'm making fun of me, you can't make fun of me because I'm making fun of me. So I'm going to put this armor around myself because now you can't hurt me because I'm already doing that. But the fact of the matter is that they're going to do that even though you're doing that. So really, are you safe? No. Most people think that, well, if people want to cut me up and chop me up into little bits and pieces and chew me and spit me out, I should do that first because now they're having my leftover meal. And it's really not that deep. Like, at the end of the day, you're still getting cut up, chopped up, eaten into little bits and pieces, and then spit out. So, really, was all that effort to make you a little nice, comfortable mind prison worth it? Because, in my opinion, it's not. And if anything, it makes things worse because now you're getting beat up by the world and yourself. Life is already hard as is. What do people not get? Life is hard enough. Make it easier for yourself. And I think there's a lot of opening happening and openness happening when you address the fact that things do hurt and they do suck. And you do not like these things about yourself. Because when you're open and expressive with yourself and you're open and honest with you, you can be open and honest with everything else. And I think that it naturally opens you up to having deeper connections with people. And it opens you up to having deeper friendships with people. And it opens you up to having a better sense of community, a better sense of self. And I feel like once you have a better sense of self and you can really help yourself in these moments where you need the help, where you're coming to somebody else and saying, oh my gosh, like my pants are burning because I said a lie, what do I do? And instead of that person being able to tell you, like, oh, just put yourself out, you put yourself out then and there because you know how to do it. And everything, like the whole, I remember, being in the moment of character development. Character development, quotation marks. Character development, where shit is fucking hard. Hold on. Discombobulated. Shit is hitting the ceiling, and I'm drowning in problems and, pain and all this suffrage. And I'm trying to hold it up, but ultimately I'm just getting crushed by people in my family, people that I call my friends, relationships, or, my own relationship with myself, or pets. It could be something stupid as pets, or strangers. And I say stupid because, like, animals, they don't know what the fuck is going on. Like, they're just here. And, for you to be stressing about animals and shit, unless it's like the species is dying, I'm like, meh, But if you step in dog shit, I don't think that is really that deep. But anyways, I don't have to explain myself. So in those moments where shit is literally crushing me, I sit there and let it crush me because fuck that, Fuck trying to be strong enough to hold it up. And I think that most people, when they're running away from their problems, they're trying to push this off of them because they don't want to carry it anymore. But the fact of the matter is that you're going to carry it until you can really sit there and be like, I don't need this. I don't need to carry this. Most people don't understand that they're carrying it because they're trying to push it off them instead of just letting the problems crush you and then, getting paper thin like those Capri Sun commercials and sliding out. Because it's basically like a cheat code when you can just sit there and not necessarily let the shit drown you, but it's kind of like you just it's not like, I don't know how to explain it. It's not like you're letting these things crush and demolish you. It's like you sit there and you know that you're not gonna die from getting crushed because you're not actually getting crushed. You know what I mean? Like, psychologically, there's a lot happening and your body is still okay. You know what I mean? So you just have to find a way to regulate that part of you that thinks it's dying. Because the psychological part of you, it does think it's fucking dying. When all of these problems are put onto you and you're getting crushed and crushed and crushed and it's stressing you the fuck out, in a way your mental space is like, oh my god, I'm dying. Oh my god. Oh my god. Wake up and do something about this. And it's shaking you and it's shaking you and it doesn't let you sleep and it's stressing you the fuck out. and it's saying, you have to ask everybody for help because I don't know how to survive. I don't know how to survive. And at one point, you just gotta like let that thing shake you until it runs out of effort. And then once it runs out of effort, you realize it's just this little screaming child that wants help, that needs a fucking hug because it's really not that serious. Although things are that serious, And suffrage is that real. But mentally, you can't let that demolish you, or else it ends up consuming your whole experience. And it ends up consuming not only your experience, but the people around you's experience. Like, if I decided I'm gonna end it all because I can't take it anymore, then it affects everybody. It affects my siblings, it affects my mom, it affects my dad, it affects my friends, it affects the people who are strangers who I work for, It affects you guys because now who the fuck's gonna post? Especially this on this page platform. Goodness gracious, I cannot speak. But anyways, that's it. I'm gonna end it here just because I feel like that was good enough. And I wanted to do something more quality based because I recognize that when I'm reading this book, I am in a rush to get it out instead of just allowing myself to read for as long as I need to read because, like I read slow. So it kind of annoys me when I read slow. But it also makes it harder for you guys to understand me because I'm already hard to understand as is. I already don't talk like a normal human being. Like I don't punctuate and I don't vocalize certain things the way that normal people do. So, yeah. Anyways, with that being said, thanks for tuning in and tapping in. As always, my babies, thanks for being here because without me, there would be no you. Without you, there would be no me. And I'm so grateful that you're here listening. And I hope that this was helpful in any way, shape, and form. Obviously, I can't sit there and tell you what you need to do through all of the things and all the bullshit and all of the shit that's hitting the fan right now. But that's what you're here to do. You're here to accomplish those things. Don't let those things crush you. And I obviously know that you're not going to let those things crush you. And if you need a piece of encouragement, always know that my comments, my Discord is always open. And if you need some sort of just encouragement or you need somebody to like give you a virtual hug, that's me. Like, that's what I'm here to do. I'm not here to tell you how to fix your problems. I'm here to tell you that you will get through them. And I will coach you through them. And although I can't really do much to help you, and sometimes my shit's gonna feel mundane, I can do it for you. And I know that you have the strength to do it. So I'm gonna sit here and tell you you have the strength. I'm gonna sit here and tell you you are strong, even when you don't feel strong. I'm that trainer at the gym who's getting you pumped to do more and more sets because you want to get so strong and so fit. But working out is hard. You know what I mean? Just like psychologically, mentally, working out is hard. But you can't be scared to do that because it makes you stronger. And the stronger you are, the more gracefully you handle life. And the more you're able to help and handle collective bigger problems, because if I am sitting and drowning in my own problems and worries, how am I going to go out and protest? How am I going to go do sit-ins? Can't. How am I going to boycott? I can't because I won't have the mental strength. Anyways, thanks for tuning in and tapping in. I love you and I will see you in the next one. Peace.